So what's good with everybody, man? Talk to me. What's up, man? I literally was with my boy the other day. We were fixing the toilet. We were putting the what's that thing called? The toilet valve flapper, whatever the fuck it's called. And we were both like talking about how 2022 is kind of shitty. Like, what the fuck is going on with 2022? You know what I'm saying? And we had this moment where we broke into song, like not into song, but we started talking about songs, right? And he was telling me like, oh, you know, and I don't know if he got this from like, maybe he's seeing a therapist or something, but he's like, oh, a lot of my anger and a lot of my despair, a lot of my depression comes from what I listened to as a child. And I was like, holy shit, man, that's kind of deep. You know, everything he's like, you know, I have these moods and these behaviors that I go into. And he was kind of he was equating it to what he listened to as a child or, you know, as a teenager, whatever it is. So I started throwing, you know, and I started throwing songs in that I thought contributed to that kind of behavior, you know. But it makes sense. I mean, look at emo music, right? Emo, emotional music, whatever, right? Hip-hop, you get that hard persona, rah, rah, rah. Punk rock, you know, you got that fuck the system attitude, right? You know, down with the man. So, you know, I guess there's some credence to that, but it was interesting because we had a moment and I was like, damn, dude, I would love to fucking have a discussion about that, to hear like what other people's opinion is on if the music you grew up on affected you. Of course it's a yes. It's easy to say, yeah, the music I grew up on affected me. But did the music you grew up on affect you so much that now you're like looking back like, damn, should I have listened to that shit? You know? Everybody got that. You got that one artist in your arsenal. You know what I'm talking about, right? That one artist that you're like, oh shit. That song fucked me up. Like that song messed me up, or that group messed me up, you know, or the people associated. Maybe it wasn't the group. Maybe it was like, oh, hanging out with, you know, just throw on some Biggie and get ready to take over the day, Big Franco. Yeah, for sure. No, that is there. You know, listen, that's a good point. Like you bring up Biggie. Biggie can give you that energy, you know. His song starts off, kick in the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was Papa don't, you know, kill me no more. Some shit like that, right? Like he comes from that whole, you know, it's an energy thing. This ain't Friday night, look at my zoot suit and my hat. You know, this is like an energy thing for him. It's very male, masculine, you know, what kind of energy? Like a street energy, sort of a gangster energy vibe. You know what I mean? So you know, like and you bringing up Biggie, I know you're a little younger, so you may also remember, you know, your upbringing. You're gonna have a different energy, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Trying to think of something from your era. You know what I'm saying? That like an artist from your era that. I can't think of any right now. I'm trying to think of an artist from your era that portrayed an energy that sort of affected the culture. Does that make sense? Like, if you could think of an artist that you grew up on and you're like, yeah, that shit either helped the culture or it fucked the culture up. Does that make sense? Like, oh, you know, this didn't help the culture. This guy, like, even though I loved his music or I loved her music, it fucked with culture. You know what I'm saying? A great example would be like Lizzo and Cardi B right now with whatever that song is. Is it WAP that they sing, right? Wet ass P word, you know, right? So think about that. The influence that's going to have on little girls growing up and older women too. Older women that are like, yeah, I'm out here with my WAP and my wet ass, you know, in the middle of a club. It reminds me of in my era, say Foxy Brown and Little Kim, right? Little Kim, Foxy Brown, they were kind of taking away from girls like MC Light, Queen Latifah, and Moni Love, right? Who had on overall outfits, kind of dressed like men, but had a feminine swag to them. Here comes some girls in dresses, right? You got Little Kim in a dress. You got Foxy Brown in a dress, and they're fucking smashing it. Their lyrics are phenomenal. They're holding their own with men, and they look like feminine women. Like at least what the, someone who's born after 1920 or whatever thought a woman should look like, It's kind of interesting when you think about it from that perspective, right? So we're back in the 90s again, in that Cardi B is Little Kim and Megan Thee Stallion is Foxy Brown. Does that make sense, Oh, we got the WAP. Gadget, you crazy, bro. Little Kim, yeah. Erica B, who the fuck is that? I know Eric B. Eric B and Rakim. But, yeah, I don't know. Just a thought, man. Just, something that kind of... I feel like the culture, I've been listening to a lot of 40s music lately. A lot of 1940s shit. You might be like, what the fuck, But I'm tired of music. I'm bored with music. I'm bored with it. Music is so fucking boring right now. Right now, even the shit we grew up on. You know what? Let me bring up another point. I've been listening to some of my 90s shit. Going back. 80s, 90s shit. And the mix just isn't the same. The levels are not the same. If I listen to some like new J. Cole, or if I listen to Drake or whatever the fuck, or whatever, Rihanna, whatever the fuck's on the radio, it's got this whole other sonic level. Is it better? Not necessarily. Because a lot of their stuff is a digital drum. It's a digital drum, a digital snare, you know what I mean? But you got Big Franco. A lot of these new rappers are just mumbling. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But let's go back to the 80s and 90s. Like a group like Supersonic. Not Super. JJ Fad. They had that song Supersonic, right? And they were mumbling. They were like, "Any minute, just let me wop up, let me knock." They weren't saying shit. They were like Supersonic, and then they would just mumble for the rest of the fucking song. We had a lot of that in our generation in 80s and 90s. Ask Uncle Eddie about it. You know what I'm saying? You go back, you pull up some artists that they were just fucking mumbling and jumbling. They weren't saying shit. But the beats now, like talking about the beats, you say a lot of these new rappers are just mumbling on a great beat, right? And those beats are great. They're great because the mix is so much more sonic than what we grew up on. If we go back pre-2000, 90s, go back 80s, it's way more sonic. It pushes. There's more clarity there, but the frequencies are different. Like a lot of that music is tuned to be listened to on a phone or a tablet, right? So if you bring it back to my era, we were listening to music on 10-inch woofers minimum. Like if you didn't have 6x9s in the car, that shit was like not even, it didn't sound right. And we knew it back then. 12-inch woofers in the house, 15-inch woofers in the house, big stereos. Now you got a Bluetooth radio by Beats by Dre. The shit looks like it's the size of like a football. It barely puts out any bass. You know what I'm saying? So I think music is mixed differently now to sound that way, Me and Mr. Palazzolo. Wow, shout out to Mr. Palazzolo. That was our piano teacher, keyboard teacher in middle school. The reason it's sonic is because it's digital. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Like a lot. What gets me upset, Eddie, is when I see like a lot of these new YouTube producers, right? They're out there making beats and they're like, yeah, I've been making beats for the last three to 5 years. And they're like, I don't know what people are talking about. I have to mix my shit. I just put it out like that. And I laugh because I'm like, yeah, because you didn't have to dig through vinyl that was already 50 years old. Take that and make that sound good for the 90s. You get some pre-made shit in your phone already that sounds amazing. It's like mixed by Kanye, 10,000 808s and snare drums. You know what I mean? Like you already got Grammy award-winning mixes out of the box. And you're over here like, yeah, I don't know what those guys back in the day were talking about. We went through hell and high water to get our music to sound good. I would argue that the 90s was probably the shittiest era for audio quality. Like, prior to that, you go maybe pre-40s. So 1920, horrible quality. 1930, horrible. 1940s, there's a couple of jams there where you're like, yo, they're figuring shit out. By the 50s, you got Elvis Presley. And, you know, dynamic microphones are a thing. So by the 50s, dynamic microphones have changed the game. You feel what I'm saying? Pre-50s, you had these microphones that you had to, if you look at the old newscasts, they had 5 mics stuffed together. If you look at the old performers, they had 2 mics, 3 mics to sing into. After the 50s and 60s, the technology changed. Woodstock is a great example. Woodstock was the first time that people said they heard something that was mind-blowing for them. This was what Pixar animation was to us when we first saw it. This was to them. They heard this shit in their ears and they were like, what the fuck is that? I've never heard anything so big, large, and grand, you know? So we got to pay a lot of homage to this progression in music, and now we're going through another cycle. We're going through the same cycle. The recordings have done a world of difference. Yeah, sure. I mean, let's look at a lot of the remasters. Half of the good shit that's been put out has been anything that they cared about, you know. They go and remaster it. The Beatles, whatever, you know. They give it they bring it up a notch. Right now we're going through a weird revolution because of the streaming era, right? We got Spotify, we got all these other, you know, streaming platforms are kind of taking away from the quality. I used to go and search for tapes because tapes have a wider range of analog sound. I would search for CDs because CDs, while they don't have as wide of a range of sound, they were cleaner. So you could make copies off of them. That was the whole thing with the CD. A lot of people think, oh, the CD was invented because it sounds better. No, it's because it doesn't degrade quality over time, but it definitely doesn't sound better. Put a vinyl record, put a cassette tape, and a CD up against each other, and your ears can tell the difference. You'll be able to tell. And not only that, if you bring out your meters and look at you sit there and you do some measurements and you listen to you look at the spectrograph of sound, you'll see that there is actually frequencies missing from the CD. So all that music that was made in the 90s, that was converted from vinyl to CD, lost some of its quality. Now, fast forward to now, we're digitizing everything. We're turning it into MP3s that are 128 kilobytes. They have no top end and no bottom end. That means the highs get crushed and the bottoms get muddy. So things like Miami bass music wouldn't exist. A lot of the bass players of the 70s and 80s, 60s, 50s, those great bass players, they wouldn't exist in today's world. It's almost why you don't see great musicians today. Like, you only hear of the lead man, like Maroon 5. You don't know who their fucking drummer is. You have no clue who Maroon 5's guitarist is. You knew Dave Grohl was Nirvana's drummer. You knew that shit. You knew the drummer of Led Zeppelin. You knew the drummer of Yes, of The Who. You knew who the fuck they were. Now you don't give a fuck. You don't care. Doesn't matter now. You know? I don't know. Yep. Let's get up in here and see if we can get to go live. Oh no, that might be my uncle. What's up? Is this gonna work? There he is, Uncle Eddie. What's up?
Oh man,
how you doing?
Good. Keep it going. I want to.
Man, I'm excited to have you on because, you know, you're not that much older than me, but there's a little bit of an age gap there.
There is.
Right?
I would say there is, of course.
And I have to give you some credit. If anybody who's tuning in right now, this is my uncle. And my uncle was one of the first people to really influence outside music that my parents didn't have in the house already. Right. And this may be something you don't know. Maybe you know. I don't know. But very young, I remember having access to your music. I don't know if you remember this. Very young, I had access to and that would be, you know, you would let me in and I would be so interested. You would be like, oh, well, you know what? You could borrow that tape. because you have a tape player at home, and you would allow me to borrow. And a lot of these things were, I don't know if they were pause mixtapes you were making, where you would.
Yeah, yeah. Because I used to grab my boom box that I begged my father for about a year, and I got it for Christmas. And I know one of the edits that I made was "Freak Out" by Les Chic.
Oh, yes.
And I remember listening to the radio just to catch that song about twice in an hour, maybe 3 times an hour, because it was the popular one. And I remember just hitting the pause button, playing the record button, and then hitting the pause button. Freak out. And then I again in the thing, freak out, freak out, freak out, freak out, let freak.
That's amazing.
And I remember this stuff, and I was like, whoa. And I was like, yo, listen to my tape. Listen to my tape.
Right. Yeah, you pulled off something special at that point. I mean, this is magic. I remember because I had some experience with making the pause tape, and you brought back a great memory just now when you said you would wait around all day for the song to play back. That's amazing. That's phenomenal. When you think about nowadays, you could just go on YouTube and go, I want Freak Out, and there it is.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned this because just recently, I've been looking at, and I'm 57, man. I've dabbled around with the Technique 1200 turntables back in my time, and I did a couple of my own little DJ gigs and stuff like this, and I thought it was, I thought I was a badass. I was nothing, but I think I would have been able to do something if I would have hung around with that whole thing. But just recently, I've been looking at these little Pioneer tabletop, get your music from Tidal and all this other stuff to kind of almost play around with it, but it becomes too easy where you can just sample that beat and throw it in on everything or anything that you want, and I'm like, I guess I'm old school when I look at it and I go, man, the artistry is no longer there for that. Because
it's a lot of computer assisted aid there as well, Yeah. So let me ask you this, and real quick, let me give my boy Thabo M in the chat. He's saying all music is mono now and stereo sound is extra. Hey, you know what? That's true. You pay a premium to get those better quality downloads and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But let me ask you this, right? So it's something that I struggle with as a musician or as a DJ, you might be able to relate to this, is watching technology shift in front of your eyes, and then it becomes a little bit out of your hand, and you start to get upset at it. You go, that's too easy. You know what? They got it easy. These guys, and I was doing it earlier. I was like, they got it good. These kids, they just do this, they do that. So, in your opinion, what's maybe drawing you back into it? Is it because it's easier and you can kind of see that, or is it that it's just an inkling, no matter what, easy, hard, I'm going to go for it anyways?
I think what has been drawing me back into it for a while is one of the things that I liked and I would hope I would get out of it is when you're sitting there, and again, I'm going back to the turntable days, when you're sitting there, records rarely had beats per minute inscribed in them. You had to listen with your ear of boom, 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 boom. And then you would grab this record and this was like boom, 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 boom. So wait a minute, I could kind of put these two beats together. They may not be the same beats per minute, but this beat definitely matches to this. Control the pitch, slower, higher. And you fade and mix that song. Today,
so not to cut you off, let me bring up a point here.
Yeah.
What you're basically saying is that you had more human interaction
100%
with the music. Because here's something I remember as a youth is watching a DJ touch the vinyl in order to slow it down. They would tap the vinyl. Just keep touching it until it got right into the pocket. that's something that maybe a computer doesn't do now. A computer just locks on and goes, okay, there's your beat match, 90 beats per minute, off you go. You know, let me time stretch it for you, right?
Right.
So there was more of a human element. What I fear is that, like, when you get your equipment and you actually fire it up for the first time and you use some of that stuff and you get past the honeymoon stage,
right,
and you go, damn, this is not as fun. Because I experienced that with some of my gear. I go back and I use stuff and it's like, man, it's so much easier to do this now. But then I find myself also quickly getting distracted from it, where I'm like, I don't even want to play with this anymore. I'm done with it now. Like, I think I like the long process sometimes.
I like you're right, because like I'll watch these DJ videos on YouTube, right? And I see these guys come in and they'll throw that beat in there, and then they'll throw another little sampling, and then they're into the music. So that's like their break. Where for me, I would have that ending of that song or the middle of that song, and then fade in another song coming in there, and not to stop the crowd in their tracks, but just to fade them in and keep them on the same level of dancing rhythm and stuff like this. And like you said, with the older technique turntable, you didn't have to mess around so much with the pitch if you didn't want to. You could just drag your finger on that table, and you can see that you were no longer on 33 and a third, and then let go and let it catch up, to your speed, instead of messing around with the pitch.
Right. That's interesting. Those are techniques that are going to be lost,
well,
forever.
Unless there's old school in there, stuff like that, but the artistry of DJing like that, a lot of it is gone. Even for like I remember going to the Fun House in the city, right? And it was a major, major club. And I remember going there when Madonna was dating Jelly Bean Benitez.
Stop, right? Wait a minute. Madonna's hanging out at the club, just hanging out. She's just at the club.
I forget what song she was new into, but she was dating the DJ there, Jelly Bean Benitez. And if you look at, when you get a chance, YouTube, the Fun House in New York City, Jelly Bean Benitez and stuff like that.
Now, I know of Jelly Bean Benitez, and this is, this is, again, through the family, through people like you who are DJs, some of the musicians. I know of the name, but I never knew that Madonna dated that DJ, like that. That's interesting.
Madonna dated that DJ in order for her music to be played in that club.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists that do things to step.
Sure. That's it. And this is pre-social media. This, you got to remember, this is the only way to get your music out, is to be on the scene, in the clubs.
On the scene. So I would watch YouTube videos, and even with somebody like Jelly Bean, where, again, he would have, back then, the artistry of mixing, and you could hear and see him at the beats and stuff like that. Today, he don't have the little, tabletop Pioneer,
DJ, they call them the DJ, what do they call? CDJs. Yep. The Pioneer CDJs.
Yes. So, he's got like the more elaborate, can he do something like that and stuff like that? But, and I'm sure he could mess around just like he did with the turntables. But even with the turntables and doing that whole artistry thing, it wasn't just being able to go on your MacBook or whatever computer system you have and picking a song like, hey, click, 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 click. It was flipping back, grabbing a vinyl record and hooking it up. Look, Rod Uno knows what the fuck I'm talking about. I
was just going to say, let's shout out the chat. We got Melissa in the chat. I think we got, no. Somebody said Mello. Yeah, I think Melissa's in the chat. And we got Rod Uno in the chat. And that's a good point. Because what I was going to say, Uncle Ed, was this. Listen, maybe Rod Uno can agree with this. I know for a fact, because I work for a company they did promotional music for DJs, and we worked with Pioneer, we worked with Serato directly. Those two companies are very, they want to know what the DJ wants. So they worked very hard. So what you're talking about when you say Jelly Beanie's on this newer stuff, at the same time as it is newer stuff, a lot of that stuff has been tuned to perform like older equipment does. Yeah. So they actually get like vinyl now that has a time code in it. One piece of vinyl they don't have to change, and it touches a real needle. They get the real feel for it. You know what I mean? So some of that has been recaptured in technology.
And that's nice. That's real nice. But somebody like myself who wants to get back in the game, I'm going to be spending thousands of dollars. And if I would have stayed in the game, to me that would have just been an upgrade because I would have sold my old stuff.
Right. So it's funny you say that. Let me ask you this: are you an Apple user?
Yeah.
Do you use like Apple products as far as like your phone, of course, but do you also use iPads?
I have an iPad. I got a MacBook. I got an iPhone.
So I just saw this thing. I want to say it's called Hercules, right? You should look this up. It is basically, they worked with the people who made Serato, and they made a miniature controller. It's the size of your computer keyboard, right? It has two little discs that you can spin for blends and stuff and scratches.
Right.
And it comes with a software that rivals Serato, and it only costs $100 out the box.
Oh, okay.
And I've been looking at this going, because I have the podcasting gear, I have the studio here, and I want to bring DJs in, but a lot of times they have to bring their equipment and come with a lot of things.
Yes.
So I'm thinking of a way that, like, man, I have an old iPad there. I bring out the old iPad, I attach a $100 controller that has it has the fader on it that the DJs need. It has all their little effects buttons. It has their two turntables, and it performs. It has the same software they're used to. So they jump on it, and it's home for them already.
Okay.
So I was interested in grabbing one of those. So I'll send you the link for that. I want to say it's called Hercules. Let me look up my little list here real quick.
Because I know, like, again,
Hercules.
Going back in my day with the artistry of the DJ, I know, there was many times that in order to get that crowd kind of, you would put two of the same records, you caught the same beat, and what we used to call it back then was the airplane effect, because you would get that.
Ah, yes.
Almost like an airplane is, and it would come in from the left channel to the right channel, and you would blend it like this, and people were like, "Yo, damn, what the hell's that sound? That's crazy!" But
that is interesting. That's called a phase.
Right. It was phase. But back then we didn't know what a phase was. We just it sounds like an airplane.
You guys were like, "You hear this shit?" What?
Yeah. We were like, yo, this guy just did an airplane effect. Because we didn't know. We were just street kids, and this guy had the gear, and so it was.
What's crazy is the way you said that you guys would blend it. Like you said there, you basically did a special effect by phasing the record, by getting it to go off a little bit and then going left to right. Yeah. And I've heard this used before and never really correlated that. That's just the DJ phasing a little bit. Yeah. You just hear it and you're like, whoa, Like, you remember the song Eric B. and Rakim, Pump Up the Volume? They do a little bit of that in there. There's a moment where they kind of phase the sound. They bounce off each other and get that, what you call the airplane effect. You know what I mean?
Right. So it was a lot of fun. But getting back to what you started the conversation with music, I think that everything has gone so digital that you have taken away a lot of the instruments of where you would have people in a recording studio just making beats. Drum beats, guitar, bass beats, trumpet beats. And then you would have the mixer come in and grab that and put it here, where all these digital effects are being put into place. And this guy could drop this beat in here and then drop this beat on top of it. And now we have a different beat. YouTube
Yeah, yeah,
are doing a lot of that, you know?
yeah. That's an interesting point. Yeah, do you think that's kind of like the death of music at that point? Because, you know, you're kind of just recycling what's already been used for the last decade over and over. You know, like if you listen to any pop music now, a lot of it has the same kick, the same snare, same hi-hat. Sure, they're playing in different tempos, but
I mean, look at reggaeton,
okay.
right? I don't care what you do to reggaeton. It's the same beat. Same beat, different lyrics. When you had back in the time, and if Angie's still on, she'd test, you know, my Tio Richard, this guy loved music, loved music.
Oh yes, he did.
You know, I watched the YouTube video that they created. I think it was like 30-something minutes long, and he talked about his love of music and hi Alexis, and you know he talked about his love of music, and just different things like that, and it was like he felt it. He felt it. Today, you know, you go to, you know, these kids, they'll go, and Alexis knows me, you know, she knows I'm old, you know, she's young, you know,
What's up, Alexis?
and a lot of these younger people will go to these EDM concerts, and it's, you know, what was that commercial? The boots and pants and boots and pants and boots.
Yeah.
You know,
the house music action, yeah.
Yeah, it's a constant droning of that same kind of thing, where the music, like you had mentioned, she's laughing. The music that you know, like my uncle, your dad. You know how many times I saw your dad playing the conga. You know, playing the conga, and I think I was at some spot where either he was playing the trumpet or at the apartment or wherever it was at the house. You know, hitting the trumpet and stuff like that. There's not a lot of that.
No, there isn't. You know, it's funny you bring up the. I could tack on to that EDM thing. You know, I watched this thing called the Master Class, and they had Dead Mouse, who he's an EDM producer, and he talked about how there's a point where they've figured out in dance music that they can basically get you to push your body to the limit, to the point where your ears are so filled with a frequency. Your body is moving constantly, and it's designed to drain the audience. He says there's a point where we figured out the beat. If we hit this tempo for this long, it drains the audience to the point where they're sweating profusely. They're falling out on the floor, practically needing hospital attention, you know? So music isn't necessarily anymore about a feeling. It's more about what would you call that? A shift in your emotion.
Yes.
And that's through frequency, you know? So, and I saw this interview recently with Kanye West on Drink Champs with Noriega. And he stopped in the middle. And, you know, Kanye sounds always like a crazy nut. But when you really listen, there's some gems in there. Right. And he goes, you know, music is different now. He goes, a lot of people are listening to stuff with 808s. And if you listen to the 808, it falls into a certain chakra that it's known for when you hit those Tibetan bowls that go woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
He goes, it hits a certain chakra. He goes, so a lot of the youth's music falls in a different emotional energy than what we grew up on. He goes, and it explains why we have, you know, he's trying to talk about how it makes more violence in the world. And, you know, he's going off on this conspiracy theory about how the 808 is basically like driving evil, you know, in some way. In his own weird way, he kind of says that, you know, so don't quote me on that, but you know what I'm saying? It'd be interesting to get your point. Because, you know, this is a musician. This is a popular musician who's challenged with making not only music that he sampled from the 60s and 70s, 50s, really, you could argue. He sampled 50s, 60s, 70s, made it in the 90s, and now he's challenged with making music for the youth who are telling him, I don't like your old shit. It don't sound right to me. You know, the 808 is not in there. You don't have this kick. You don't have that snare, you know. You may know this. When you look around you, you see most people listen to their music on a phone nowadays.
Yeah.
So the average artist coming out today has to engineer their music to sound good on a phone, where in Tio Rich's day, it was engineered to sound good in a nightclub.
Not only in a nightclub, but 15 and 20-inch speakers.
Right.
Set on top of each other. Getting back to the fun house, the the sound system in that place was, we don't even know how. Like today I think about it and I don't even know how it even worked, because there was these woofer boxes where the girls would take their pocket.
Right, cuz little Eddie's popping on, little big Eddie.
You know, the girls would take their pocketbooks and hide them inside where the vent holes were.
Get out of here!
I'm serious.
I know, because they were huge. They were huge. They were big, giant boxes. And they had the tweeter horn. Oh, shit.
Then you had the speaker, and then below that you had you had you had the vent hole where it was swooped down. You know? And you would see when girls would go in there, they would hide their pocketbooks inside there. And there was many of these things throughout this club.
Right.
It sounded still phenomenal.
Yeah.
It sounded still phenomenal. And then, you know, you like you said with that 808 and that chakra where, you know, to drain the body of music during that time, you know, which I've never seen this, but only in that particular, you know, hi Brenda, you know, where we used to go and we would just dance right in the center. Hey Taita. So we would just go and dance, and Taita knows what I'm talking about in the fun house.
Yeah. We got all the party people in the chat tonight.
And wherever you danced in that club, when you got finished, that's where you stood. You sat on the floor. You never get off the dance floor. You just stayed on the floor. You know?
So now why would this be? Is this because you had to hold your spot, or is this just because that's camp? That's camp for the night.
That's camp for the night. This is where you dance. This is where you know, if you wanted to get off the floor, you could definitely get off the floor. But if you danced there and you like wanted to take a break instead of walking off, you didn't like, you know, you weren't particularly so big on the one song that they were playing or whatever, you sat down. You sat down on the floor, you hung out, whatever it was. And tune came around, you stood back up and you kept dancing. You kept dancing, you know, like you see Taita that joined in. Her husband and I, you know, we would frequent the clubs and hang out and all that other stuff. And we would go to the
club. What years were these? What are we talking? These are this last year, or this is?
Yeah, I wish it was last year, right? That would have been fun.
This was at the Howl at the Moon at the corner over there, the ale house.
Yeah, back in the late 70s, well, early 80s. Early 80s.
So now let's touch back a little bit, because I was talking earlier about how I was influenced by a lot of your tapes, a lot of your pause tapes, a lot of your mixtapes, and I do recall you having turntables and actually mixing. I've been there. I witnessed little 10-year-old Frankie.
Yeah.
Saw you mixing, you know, headphones on. You know, I've been to parties where you're dealing maybe with the DJ and stuff. And this is in the older days, you know, we're talking 80s at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And I never forget, man, you had a couple of guys over the house. I don't know if they were sleeping over for the weekend, some event was going on. And, you know, me, the young 10-year-old me, wanted to hang out with my uncle. I want to be with my uncle. I hang out next to my uncle. He got the cool music and the cool car, you know, and all the pretty girlfriends. I would sit next to you, you know, and I was listening to this one. It was a tape that had, I never forget it, because it had De La Soul on it, and it had NWA, Eazy-E and NWA, you know, Dr. Dre, all that. And I never forget it, because I love this so much that your friends, the guys, were like, yo, you like that a lot? You know what? You can have a copy, because they could make extra copies. You guys had the ability to just make duplicates, right? Yeah. And they left me with that tape, and it was like it was a white tape, but it was off-white, you know, like manila yellow off, like, you know, dingy color. It had a masking tape on it, and it had the name on it, and it was the college radio, like 91, whatever, 89, whatever it was, the college radio. And I, young me, grabbed this tape, and I heard De La Soul for the first time, NWA, Special Ed, And remember, at this point, I'm out of New York. Yeah. I'm not living in the NY no more. I'm a Florida boy now. 10-year-old Frankie just moved to Florida, freshly plucked out of New York, has no access to this. The music over here is bass music. It's DJ Magic Mike and Trick Daddy, and it's fast, and it's got a lot of bass, and you can't understand what they're saying. And here I am blessed with this tape. And that tape molded me. That tape molded a lot of my, excuse me, a lot of my musical decisions after that, you know, were based on a lot of what was on that tape. And I wish I had that. I probably still do if I really dig for it. Yeah. But I wish I had that tape because I could have just imagined.
I have a question for Brenda. Brenda, when you say you were influenced by the car, was it the music that was being played in the car or like the car itself? Because, you know, the car is a wonderful thing. You know, there's a lot of different things that a lot of special moments that happen with your friends in your car. You know what I mean? The music that were played that's being played at that time. You know, the not the destination of where you're going to, but the adventure that is taken. So music and car, it's like, wow, he's cool. Who's cool?
Well, that's that. You know what she's talking about is I know what Brenda's talking about. You had like your cars were cool. You had cool cars. You know, you always had bumping music, a little stereo system in there. You know, I remember that. But to touch on what you're saying, you know, what's interesting about the car is that the car is a place where if you're not alone, other people's music influences you. So it's the one place where if you and I are in a car and we're traveling, I might be like, yo, you mind if I put this on? Or, hey, do you have any of that, you know? So now you're kind of forced to listen, you know? I remember you had this one car that we drove from New Jersey to Florida, and you brought me in the car. You, your girlfriend, maybe it was Titi Dottie, I don't know.
Yeah, it was Dottie.
Okay. And in the back of I was in the back of this little tiny car that wasn't meant for 4 people. It was only meant for 2. And I'm in the back, squeezed in, and we went all the way from New Jersey to New York in that car. But that car was so cool. That car was cool, man. You had a cool, I don't know, what was that? Was it a Dodge? What was it?
There's been a lot of those.
I remember it being gray.
It was, oh my God, the gray car. And she said the license plate.
Brenda. The legendary.
Brenda, the license plate. The license plate, you just brought chills to me. Not so much the number of the license plate, but the ring around the license plate said 80's Bajapanti. Right? And that license plate name was given to me by your grandfather.
Oh,
Your grandfather. He was the one that said he was at the house in Jersey, and he said, "Mira, nene, es un bajapanti." Taita knows. So I said, "What?" He goes, "Mira, ese carrito está un bajapanti." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I went to the mall, and they had this store where they did engraving, and they got the license plate things, and I dubbed it instead of Baja, like you would kind of Baja in Spanish, I put Baha. Like, I didn't want to just like, you know, all these Spanish people were like, oh, this guy, you know, he's nasty. So I kind of moved the letters around a little bit so that way people wouldn't know, oh, Baja, maybe he's from California or something. You know? Ali, Brenda, oh my God, you're not kidding. The gray car. That gray car was a 1985 Chevy Cavalier. And it was it was tight in the back. It was tight in the back.
It was tight. Yeah, it was tight.
It was a stick.
That thing sounded great, man. You were so happy in that car. I never forget. You were like so happy in that car. I don't know what it was. First car, maybe. I don't know. You were happy.
No, it wasn't. It was my first brand new out of the showroom car.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I'm a kid. So for me, you know, everything's happy. I'm like, yay, everything's wonderful. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, no,
it was crazy. So let me ask you this. Another question. I remember some of your pause tapes, we'll call them, having freestyle music exclusively like just freestyle on them. And it was called Craze Productions.
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell? Craze, or maybe it was Crazy Productions.
It was Craze. Yeah.
Craze, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I buy that for a little while.
Yeah, I remember that because I would dig for those tapes when I come home from school. I would look for my mother's tapes, and she always have a "Don't touch my tapes." My brother gave me those tapes. Those are my only New York tapes I got because we lived in Florida. So
yeah.
And I used to steal those and listen to like Diamond Girl and whatever was on there. You know what I mean? Diamond Girl, you make me feel, and I'll be in the room like, this is amazing.
The crazy thing about it is that I have a whole playlist on my iTunes of just 80s, 80s to late 80s to just the very touch of the early 90s of that freestyle music, and it brings me back to there. And during that whole time, there's a group by the name of Deep Forest, and they have a song called Sweet Lullaby. And that song, Frank, I tell you what, that song, I remember laying on my parents' love seat, being alone in the house, waiting to get picked up by friends because we were going to go out, and listening to Sweet Lullaby by Deep Forest. And it is almost like an American Indian tune.
Let me look that up while we got it here.
Yeah. Can't really understand any of the words, but for some reason, it was just that minuscule moment in universe where I faded away. And I was like, yo, man, I'm experiencing something right here. And I heard it, because I heard it like on the radio, and I was like, what is that? And I seeked out for it and found what it was.
Give it to me again one more time so I can have it in my list here.
Deep Forest is the group.
Deep Forest.
And it's Sweet Lullaby.
Deep Lullaby.
No, Sleep.
Sleep Lullaby, okay.
No, sweet, like dulce.
Sweet, like candy sweet lullaby.
Yeah,
it came right up. Okay. I'll keep that on for later. Oh, wow. It's in is that another language?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
I try to be quite eclectic when it comes.
So were you like the Memorex commercial where you were sitting in the couch melting and the audio was powers pushing you back?
Very close to that. But it was one of those experiences where I was like, wow, and that's one of those times where music kind of like did something for me. It did something for me. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes music will do that, but today with the auto tuning, it doesn't matter who you are, the vocal, when you hear like somebody like Adele sing, not using an auto tune, you can really, really appreciate the quality in her voice, and
and you growing up with you listening to actual artists, no computer generated help. You can appreciate when you hear the computer generation, you can maybe tell more than a younger person can that something's being assisted there. Yes. A great example I always give is that song Betty Davis Eyes. And I always say that song Betty Davis Eyes would not exist in today's world with auto-tune, because that vocalist would be considered horrible. It would be like, oh, she's raspy, and no, we need to auto-correct this so she sounds like the typical Mariah whatever Carey. And that song wouldn't exist today. Think people like Tiny Tim or, Simon and Garfunkel maybe wouldn't have the same energy that they have if they came out today, with this cookie cutter sort of you have to fix everything mentality. I think it's the death of music personally. When I hear that music, my ear cries. Like,
Yes.
and I hear this from artists that didn't use it. Like a Mariah Carey puts a new song out and you hear her using it and it's like, ooh, wow.
You
Like,
wonder why. And listen, you know, after asking yourself the wondering why question, then you kind of figure it out. She has to. If she wants to stay relevant, if she wants to sell an album,
okay.
you know,
Okay. That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. It's attaching yourself to something that, okay, that's an interesting point.
I sold records, you know, I sold records in the 90s. I sold them in the 2000s. Now I need to sell them in the teens or you know, we're in the 20s. I need to sell it to not only this generation, but I need to sell it to the next generation.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a good point. Yeah. That's almost like an ingredient now that you have to have so
right?
that you can capture the 15 and under or 20 and under, whatever that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, listen, as they you know, like there's a new Beatles you know, documentary going on. You know, I was never a big Beatles fan. Do they have great music? I know they do. You know, there's a lot of people that swear by the Beatles and all this other stuff. I just never did. I didn't like that type of music at the time. I did not grow up with it. You know the stuff I grew up, freestyle rap. You know, the infancy of rap music. You know, not the California stuff and stuff like that. You know, so that's the stuff that I appreciate. I appreciate good rock music. Chester Bedingfield in Linkin Park, God rest his soul. You know,
Yeah.
the guy, you know, he had pipes on him, and it was a wonder why he didn't, you know, snap every vocal cord in his throat. You know, with the way that would, you know, sing. You know, the one of the groups that is out there that, you know, some of the songs, not all of the songs that I liked was System of a Down, where it was the
Yeah.
and it brought you back down, almost calmed you down for a quick minute. You know, so those were things, you know.
Yeah.
But you hit it right on the head tonight with the whole way music is going, and I think the music industry has to evolve in order to stay relevant to the new generation coming in. Headphones, cater to everything to a headphone, you know.
Yes.
You know, even people in cars right now, they may have a good system in their car, but they're still wearing headphones.
Yeah. Or listening on a phone that's Bluetooth that lowers the quality, condenses everything, crushes it down over a Wi-Fi connection on Pandora. You know, now you got to put all kinds of tricks and stuff on your EQ to get it to even. Yeah. It's a challenge. I loved the old era for that the sound that I grew up on, these big woofers and this full sound that I'll never forget, you know. I love that. Like that's some of the most memorable stuff I have is now, even now walking into clubs, it may sound amazing, but there's just something lacking there. You know, the reality of it all, the Velcro, the glue that's holding it together has changed.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're absolutely right. Right. You know, it's you know, I'm glad I caught up with you on this and decided to request to be up.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've had this one on my brain for a minute. I've been wanting to talk music, and it was interesting because, like I mentioned, you're one of those early influences where, you know, I was exposed to hip hop through my parents and through New York and all that. But with you, it was different because you were not only were you in New Jersey, so you were getting a different mix there, but you were a little younger than, say, my mother.
Yes.
Right. So you were a little more in tune, closer to maybe what I would have liked than maybe my parents, you know? So having you, and then my own influences, you know, it was interesting. It was interesting. There was definitely a lot of Uncle Eddie tapes floating around, a lot of Craze production. And I'm telling you, you had some good shit, man. You were talented. You were talented, man. What happened? I want my pause tape right now.
Listen, I still have a boom box in my garage. Now, it does it play? Yes. I would love to kind of, just kind of hold that thing around and stuff like that, bring back early 1980s, vibe and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
You have to get you to dust off the equipment, get a little DJ. Look at that. Look up that Hercules thing I told you about. That Hercules, that it's like a cheap little controller, man. Yeah. It seems to me like a solution for that sort of what you were talking about, getting back into that whole mixing vibe. And here's another one for you, a gem that a lot of people sleep on. Everyone goes to Pandora, everyone goes to Spotify, everyone goes to iTunes, but there's this service called Mixcloud. I don't know if you've ever used it.
I've never used Mixcloud. Of course, SoundCloud is a popular one.
Not the same thing though. Yeah, no. So here's why I think you'll like Mixcloud. This is why I think you'll like it, because all of those mixes you're talking about, all those songs, all those DJs on Mixcloud, they allow them to put it up as an entire mix. So you're not just listening to one song at a time. Like, oh, there's Lisa Cole Jam, and now Timmy T next. You get what I'm saying? Instead, they're going to do it in a blend, in a mix. And a lot of your favorite old DJs are there putting their stuff out. And it's because that service pays the royalties. So like, let's say right now you wanted to take one of your old mixes, Craze Production, out. You converted it to digital, upload it to Mixcloud. They pay all the royalties on it, and they put it out as a stream for people to listen to. So I think you'll find some gems there that you can just throw on your phone, type in, 80s freestyle, whatever it is you're going for, 80s hip hop. And I think you'll be surprised, because that's where I find a lot of my favorite DJs. They're not on Pandora. You can't find Tony Touch on Pandora. You know what I mean? You can find his playlist, but that's just him picking songs. Or you can find his music that he made and put out, but that's not the same. I want to hear him mixing, So look that up if you can, mixcloud.com.
I definitely could, because like I said, I've been looking at this little DJ controller and stuff like that. Yep. Brenda said Mixcloud.
Yes. Mixcloud. You got it. All one word, mixcloud.com. Go there. It's amazing. No ads. They don't run any ads. And it's pure mixes, all quality, none of this like underground music. It's all top level stuff. Good website. It's the mixtape, which where the mixtape goes to die, because we don't have tapes anymore. You know what I mean?
Quicks, you already got it.
There you go.
Plain. So, it's with this little DJ controller, like one of the things that, of course, for somebody like myself, like, I subscribe to Apple Music, but Apple Music doesn't play well with Serato or any of the other, Hercules or any of those other ones, then you have to now do these subscriptions. Right. And listen, I want to do this for fun. I'm not getting into this whole deal. I got enough hobbies. I got my little photography hobby. I got my little kind of doing remodel stuff hobby, and just different things. I don't need to add, to another credit card to somebody else's system to bang me up for
$30 a month. Yeah.
$20, $30 a month. And then me not mess around with it for 4 or 5 months.
Right. Use it 2 or 3 times. Yeah. I feel you on that. Okay. Do you have like a repository of any of your old music, but digitized, like in MP3s or?
No.
Okay.
I had a bunch of that, from, LimeWire and right. A bunch of that on an external hard drive. I had it all.
Yeah, that would have been the gem right there, because at that point, you can at least put together, you can at least learn and play. You know what I mean? So that's what we need to do. We need to get you a little late Christmas present, a little Dropbox link. 300 of the best songs of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s,
And I think, I don't even know why. I don't even know why. And I think I got caught up in, I'm never going to use this because I can have any song I want at my fingertips. So I think I might have done away with it. I may have that hard drive somewhere, this portable hard drive somewhere.
Same thing happened to me. It's all on ice because you can just go Google it and boom, there it is. But I tell you what, you lose out on those B-sides, those extended mixes, those interludes. You get none of that extra fluff that sometimes is the best part of why you like this artist. Like if I listen to the hip hop artist Redman, some of his best stuff are the skits that are in between the songs.
Yes.
Like they're mind-blowingly funny. It's almost like you're listening to Cheech and Chong or George Carlin, or, you're like, what is going on right now? So you lose a little bit.
Funny you mentioned that because when you mentioned that, I remember Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. And at the radio edit, that was it. 3 minutes, maybe 2:45 or whatever it was. That was it. It got cut out, and you were like, okay. But I remember catching the album of that, the rappers, the Sugar Hill Gang album, and playing it and listening to this stuff. And I'm going, wait a minute. There's more to this? Wait, you mean, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Why not listening to this? Why are they not playing this on the radio? Well, years later, you think about it and you go, there's a reason. Hey, look at that. I still have that album.
It's going to be worth millions one day. Hang on to that.
And I remember listening to, the extended version of Rapper's Delight and hearing, the piece just tastes like wood, and, hey, babe, blah, 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 we're still friends. And I'm like, how come? Well, then you think about it, they can't play it because, somebody's got to pay that radio station and have it.
Yeah.
They just play that, so I when you get those, like you say, when you get those extras in that, then you can really kind of use that menudo. Oh,
menudo.
My God.
You could probably still get that signed by Ricky Martin if you really try hard enough.
Yeah. Wearing a button that I hate menudo.
Oh, Cookie, let's do it. Come on. Oh, wow. Brought it back, huh?
So it was, it was those records like that had the extended, where it would help a DJ after that big thing, and people wouldn't know. You could help, you could blend in another song in there, mix it in nice.
And here's another point to think of, right? What you just said to me was you yourself were shocked by this element of more music. So imagine a dance floor when they've been listening to the radio edit for a month now on the radio, and now they're at the club going, did DJ so-and-so what just happened? That's a mind-blowing moment. You leave that club going, I can't believe what just happened to me tonight,
Yeah.
I heard all these different things that I never thought, that's an interesting point. That's lost in music, I think.
Yeah. So there's a mix out there. Now, the original mix is called The Mexican, right? I forget who, by Babe Ruth. The Mexican by Babe Ruth.
All right, let me add this to the list. I think I've heard this before. Is that like a breakdancing? Like a lot of people use it for b-boying?
Yes. But then there was the Jelly Bean Benite mix called The Mexican, right? Yeah, you're right.
True.
They don't, Brenda. They do not.
Now they listen to music. They're here on their phone on TikTok while listening to music, while watching a movie. They're doing 5 things at once while working their TikTok or their DoorDash gig at the same time.
But like you're right, Frankie, when you mentioned the TikTok, what is that, about 25 seconds of a tune? And then that's it. The attention span, Brenda hits a point.
Yeah.
The attention span is 30 seconds, 25, 35 seconds, and then that's it. I want next. I want next.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? But the Mexican by Jelly Bean Benitez, yes, it resembles a lot of the original one by Babe Ruth, but it has more of a club feel to it. It tells you a story in that thing.
1984.
Yes, Chico Fernandez sleeping on his gun, you know, and it's like,
Oh, that's that one. Okay, yes, yes, yes. You know, it's funny. That's been remixed into hip hop songs in the last like 10, 20 years as well.
Yes, but
that's right.
When you listen to that, it's there were stories being told in a lot of the freestyle. A lot of the freestyle. There were stories being told. You know, you mentioned, which one did you mention earlier?
We talked about Lisa, Tiny Tim,
you Sapphire, La India, and you know
Expose,
you know, Cover Girls,
yeah.
you know, Noel, Silent Morning, you know, just different things. A lot of these things were stories being told. You know, now it's a few bars of lyrics, a chorus.
That's a good point. You're right. There's not really any storytelling anymore in music. And, you know, it's funny you say that because a lot of people will argue, oh, freestyle music is so simple and basic. But when you really break it down, you're right. There's a beginning, a middle, an ending. There's a whole entire story there being told. And that's sometimes between multiple songs. You'll hear it, you know, go through more. It's like, here's the love song, here's the breakup song, here's the get back together, you know, and it go, you know what I mean? So that's an interesting point because there's none of that anymore. You don't get any storytelling anymore. I can't tell you the last artist that has Cardi B ever told a story? I don't think so.
Yeah. You know, she's putting out her goods out there on the dance floor.
But there's no story. It's just like, look at me, I'm out of flame. And that's fine. There's a place for that. There's a place for the brag and boast, but there's an element. I mean, like you could maybe argue maybe Ed Sheeran still tries to kind of keep a story in there, but even that's kind of watered down to me, you know?
Yes. And even Ed Sheeran, yeah, at the beginning of his stuff, that's how he became famous. That's how he became popular. He was telling a story. But, you know, how many of his stories are going to be written into a song? You know, the story of him going to the local supermarket to get some chicken and eggs, you know, and some bread and milk.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. The other day I was listening to Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, and I was like, oh my God, this song is literally just, I'm sitting on a dock and I'm watching boats go by. It's the whole freaking song. It's literally, he's like, I went outside and I sat on the dock and I saw a boat go by, and it's a freaking monster hit record.
Yes.
You know, it transcends time and it has nothing to do with anything.
Exactly. But it put you on the dock at the bay. You immediately put yourself, right? Because I do that. I immediately put myself sitting on the dock, no shoes, feet hanging.
Yeah. And he starts whistling in the middle of the song. He's and you're right there with the fishing pole out, you know, pulling up a catfish like, y'all want to have a bear?
Right. And the crazy thing about music,
so basic but so powerful.
The song "The Hook" by, I think it's Blues Travelers, right?
Okay.
He himself had talked about that particular song and how he wrote that song. And how he wrote it was where...
I'm still here.
Yeah. He could just say words, and the words mean nothing. But what gets you into that song and into the beat is the hook. He explained this in an interview on the Howard Stern show. He says, there's absolutely nothing to the lyrics in a song. As long as I get that hook, I got you. If you can, go to YouTube or whatever streaming music thing you have that may have the lyrics and look up Blues Travelers with the hook. Read the lyrics as you're singing along. And in the lyrics, the guy absolutely says, Frankie, he says nothing. There's no story in it. There's no nothing. It's like, and I went back and I said, there's no way. There has to be something. I think I played this thing around 3 times. And I was like,
you know what it reminds me of? Here's one for you that's it's like the hip hop blues travelers, right? Busta Rhymes, when he goes, he's got that song, oh God, I can't think of the song. When I get a minute, and 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 I gotta get it. You know, that's all I gotta do is go, gotta, and you know the song. Yeah. You know, and then we listened to the lyrics. My son and I, we broke it down one day, and he goes, Dad, look, he says 30 words, and they don't have anything to do with nothing. It's like me going, I'm on a table, and I got a table, and I got a car with a car that's outside, and it's going far, and we're going far while we drive. You know, you're like, got a table, you know, there's nothing happening in the middle of that. But that's one of his most biggest, him, Chris Brown, that's one of the biggest records for that guy, you know? So there's your hip hop blues travelers. Yeah. Because you're talking about like when he's like chickadee charcoal, the Chinese chicken, you know,
yeah. You know, it's so funny because my wife's nephew, Joshua, right? When that song came out, he started singing that around me. And I was like, what the hell are you singing? And I don't even know the name of that group, but I know the name of that song because he sang it so many times. You know, the Chinese chicken, and I'm like,
I love that band, man. I tell you what, Blues Travelers was one of the first. Like, I was kind of like, the fuck, you know, like this is corny, man. And then I saw them live, not in person. Watched a video of them, and I was just, mind blowing. I was like, wow, I would love to see them live.
Yeah. The other group that told a story, but it was, I don't even know what the feel to that music is, was Counting Crows.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with them. You'd have to give me a song, you know, or something that Brenda's outie. Lisa Brenda jam. Brenda cult jam. There you go.
But the Counting Crows, they were, you know, I can't even think of anything, but it was almost where you were.
What was their big hit record?
Remember
what their hit song was? Let's see if I can pull it up here.
Yeah, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, wow. I know. Yeah, the minute I see the guy, he's the dreadlock. Yeah. Yes. I remember them. I forget the Mr. Jones and me. Yes. Yeah, that was one of the.
It was definitely one of those sing-along type of music. And you need that. You know, you want that person that's listening to that to be able to participate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They participate with you in the music, you like them. Because
it's almost like, to touch back on your point from before, it's almost like that whole song is a hook.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do you create a song that the entire thing is a hook?
Yes.
That you know it from beginning to end. It keeps them locked in. Yeah, that's got to be hard to do for a musician, but imagine the magic when you achieve that.
Yes.
That's got to be powerful, right? To think about a crowd moving in unison to your music, and you're like, wow, the power this thing has. And it might be some garbage you created on a Saturday night having a beer, and you and the guys were fooling around.
You know, but there's a lot of Linkin Park does that. You know, you listen to that the whole Linkin Park album. You know, one of the first ones that they came out when they became mainstream. you know, you can really rock to that music and know the lyrics. It, you know, some of the stuff is lost in the singing again. Getting back to like Adele, you can sing to her stuff. She's clear and concise in her words. You know, some of these people, what's his name does this? Oh my God, not Bruce Springsteen, the other guy, Bon Jovi, where the words are not there. It's just like, if I'm gonna sing the words to you, I'm gonna sing the words.
Right, right. Okay. It's like filling.
Yeah,
Filling.
you forgot the W and the O in there. Like, what happened? You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
Bruce Springsteen does that too. Yeah.
now you're just kind of giving me tunes of words, not the actual thing.
Yeah.
The one popular is Brenda Carlisle with The Joke. She does that. I've read those lyrics. I played it. It's a real nice song. And I'm like, well, that's not what you're singing. You expect me to read the lyrics and sing along, but that's not what you're singing.
Right, right.
I mean, she's a really, really good singer.
Can't really read it. Yeah, you have to like sing it. You know who does that a lot? Erica Badu has some of that in her sound, where she'll carry a word over, you know, into the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of an art form in itself. You know the artist Sia, Sia?
Love Sia. And she does.
Okay, if you get a chance, and maybe you've seen it already, watch her. There's a documentary on her where she's talking about her writing process.
Yep, I've watched it.
Okay, you saw where she's sitting in front of the piano, and they're not even putting words in. They're literally just going, "Tum, baby, do vashababi boogie." All right, now we got to put words in that. You know what I mean? I went to the park the other day. All right, there we go. Now we got words for that. You know, they're filling in the actual meaning later, which while she's brilliant and that's a talent, is also like an interesting approach, you know, maybe that an older musician wouldn't take.
Because right, and you make a point, because an older musician would have written the lyrics first, and then
it would have been feeling. It would have been like, okay, you know, all right, we got the groove going. Okay, so what are we singing about now? You know, we talking about a girl like ZZ Top. All right, the girls go crazy for a sharp dressed man. That's what we're writing about. You guys ready? Let's go. Nah, down, down, baby, jabba, do, bang, bang. All right, guys, give me some words for that. You know, that's not really how that went down, in my opinion. You know, I could be wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong, but that was an interesting approach, watching her write like that.
I like Sia. That's, you know, there's not many few artists that I would want to go see in person, but she's one of them. You know, the other one is Adele. You know, and I impressed the shit out of Victoria. This was a while back, you know, and I kind of faked the funk, though, Frank. I kind of faked the funk. I don't know if I was in the driver's seat or sitting in the back, and she was sitting in the front with her mom or whatever. And, you know, Adele came along, and I got, I pulled it up real quick with the lyrics, and I started singing along. And she kind of turned. She was like, how the hell do you know this? You're not supposed to know this. This is like my music. And I'm like,
right.
You know, and as much as I like Adele, I don't know all the words to those, you know, chasing pavements and, you know, stuff like that. But I like Adele. Her, Sia, yes, I would love to see them in concert, along with Billy Joel.
So let's touch on that real quick, because you know I'm sure we probably got like a little bit left in us, but we all got things to do. So this is a great topic. What are you've already named a few, so let's go for like top 5 artists that you want to see in concert. And I don't know if we should do dead or alive. I guess we do alive, because you can't really, you can't go back, I guess, right? So we'll do alive this time, but it's a great topic. So I have I guess I have 5 I could probably come up with, but you already named Billy Joel, you said. Is that it? Would that be
Sia?
Okay.
Adele. As much as I am not a big fan of his, I would say Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
As much as
now go back in time a little, because you just touched on a lot of more recent artists and one older, Bruce. Anybody from the past,
That's tough, man. Because like I said, I listen to, all different types of genres and stuff. So that's
Yeah.
tough.
That is a hard one. Yeah.
How about you?
For me, I've always wanted to see Sade live in concert. I've always thought that would be amazing to see. She came recently to, it was like the last maybe 8 years or something. She came to Florida and I didn't get to see her due to circumstances, Yeah. And I was so upset, but that would be one. Sade, because her band is amazing. Her band is just phenomenal, you know who would be good? Bjork.
You know what?
And you know why? Even though it's weird music, it's because if you ever look at Bjork, she's like, one concert will be like, oh, I have all the Himalayan singers mixed with the Aborigines. And that's why. Not for necessarily her. She just, sits up there and sings and she's great.
Yeah.
But I think the experience would just be.
She is a good conductor in bringing those two things together. And that makes it an experience.
Have you ever seen a show from England called Top of the Pops?
No.
Okay. If you get a chance, go back. This is like a great pop music. They captured decades of pop music. It's almost like there was a show back in the 70s or 80s called Midnight Special, where they captured all the artists, you know what I mean? And it's like, you go back and it was done really high quality. This is done really well. Watch her performance there. She has like some of the top jazz musicians in the game. They're all playing the instruments and they're, violins all done live. She has like all women violinists. She has an old black jazz player and he's there on the piano. She's got the drummer going with the little jazz set. And it's the most, like, you hear it and you're just like, wow, this was a one-time thing that she put together, not touring with this, So that, to me, she would be an amazing artist for that sort of,
Who's your third?
That's what, 2 or 3? Is that my third one? I don't know. We were doing 5, right? Portishead. I don't know if you've ever listened to Portishead. They are like a 90s group that they call them trip hop music, even though they're not rapping. She sings. Now here's the funny thing. She's the ghostwriter for Adele. Okay?
Oh.
You go back and you look at a lot of Adele's music, the girl from Portishead, Debbie something, she wrote a lot of Adele's music. So she has this powerful ghostly voice. It sounds like a ghost singing when you hear it. You're just haunted and chilled, but it's comforting. It's like, wow, like an old 40s singer, 20s singer, that ghostly vocal. No auto-tune, none of that. So that's one I would love to see, Portishead. And if I had to do one more, gosh, I don't know. I've seen so many artists, that a lot of them I'm going through. I'm like, saw it already. Like, I got blessed. And if you ever get a chance, because you come to Florida a lot, go to Miami and go to the Caribbean Festival. I went to the Caribbean Festival year after year. I got to see Carlos Santana. I got to see every Marley kid perform, Bob Marley's mother, his wife. I've got to see Wyclef, Lauryn Hill. I got to see Maroon 5. I mean, I could go on the list of artists. You would just be like, what? For one fee, you got to see that. It's a 3-day festival they do out there. Blow your mind, man. Some of the best music experiences I've ever experienced. Live concert, Miami. Do it if you get a chance.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be an experience.
No, it's mine. It's such an experience. I mean, did you get to see the New Year's Eve, the ball drop, right? They did it in Times Square this year, right? And then if you go to the other channel, they were in Miami.
Yes.
They were right in the middle of Bayside, Miami. That's where you go to see the concerts where they were. It's just, you're surrounded by buildings. It's Miami. The breeze is rolling off the water. The artists are just excited as hell because they're in Miami, It's such an...
Is that the one where Miley Cyrus lost her top?
That's not the one I went to, but yes, that same area, same neighborhood, They party out there, man. They get down with the music. They get down. And I think because it's like the tour stop. You do Tampa, Jacksonville, you do Orlando, and then you go Miami, and there's nothing, you don't do Key West. You know, there's nothing down there. The next stop, you're going to leave the country at that point. So I think people just go ape shit at that point. These artists just go crazy. You know what I mean? They're like, this is going to be my last American stop. I'm going to go nuts, you know? Amazing, amazing concert. But I can't think of a fifth one to go see. So
many different, so many, so we could call it the Mount Rushmore of what we want, because it's only 4 heads on there.
It's true. It's true. That's a tough one. So like to wrap it up here, give me 5 artists you have seen in concert. That would be interesting.
I wasn't a big concert goer, but I've seen in rock bands Def Leppard, Quiet Riot.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Those must have been like mega. Now, hold on. Wait, pause for a second. Hold on. You can't just breeze over Quiet Riot and Def Leppard. Def Leppard is legendary for having one of the biggest stage presences in the game.
And it was good. It was way back,
Wow. Was this in New Jersey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big arena?
Giant Meadowlands.
Oh, wow. So it was big.
Yeah, it was.
Did they do any pyrotechnics, any crazy shit on stage?
You know what? It was so freaking long ago. They might have.
Yeah, I know what that is. You know what? I was having a few beers and I might have had some of that local wacky tobacco. I don't really remember. I might have been making out with my future wife.
And it was, and Quiet Riot wasn't even like Quiet Riot as we knew.
Oh man, that band is that. Like, they don't even have to have a good show. The voice alone is just...
Yes.
Powerful, man. That's got to be one of my favorite vocals of all time as a kid. Blew my mind to hear that.
And I was at a club with my cousin in Manhattan. And the club was in a old clothing store. It was right dead center, like off of Times Square. The name of the clothing store was Bonds, Bonds, Bonds Clothing.
Ooh, that sounds familiar.
And it became...
That's legendary for having a little underground scene there, right?
Yes. And in that club...
Yo, look at your son. He came with the gem real quick. Hold that thought. Sublime with Rome. Wow.
Yes.
That's my number 5 right there. I would love to see Sublime in whether with the guy alive or not. Amazing. Good. That was a good one.
So in that club was, I'm trying to look it up. Oh my God. I can't, the name of the song was Walking on Sunshine, but it wasn't like, I'm trying to look it up on here and I'm definitely not.
I'm walking on sunshine. Not that one, right? Yeah. I was about to be like, okay, it's past your bedtime, Uncle Eddie.
And they called this club Bonds International Casino.
That sounds so familiar. Is there like a documentary on this or something?
There might be, because a lot of people played in this club. And in this club...
Oh, is that... It says Friday Night Fever. Is that the home of that?
It could be.
Friday Night Fever, Bond International. Yeah, wow. This holy Jesus Christ. Look at this picture. They must have like 50,000 people out in front of this place.
Yes, it was a huge place. And in that place, going into this place, this is pre everything. You got frisked. You got frisked to go into this club. Not only did you get frisked to go into this club, like I remember having a joint in my
Sorry, excuse me.
Thinking I was gonna get busted for that. And the guy, because they reached into your pockets. The guy took it out and put it on the table, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting in. He just took it, and he said, go right there, pay at the window, grab your stuff.
He kept it.
No, I kept it.
Oh, he gave it to you. Wow. Okay. Wow.
I was like, wait a minute. I thought I was going to. No, at that time, it was. I wish I knew the name of this group right now, man. And
man.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it was such an experience, and I'm talking super early 80s, where they had a price menu of all the drinks. Like today, they show that.
Right.
And Don P was $100 a bottle back then.
Wow. I mean, wow. That would probably run you $3 bills now, minimum at a crappy club, for an old bottle that's been on their shelf that they're dying to get rid of.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember seeing that group there, and it was a really, really cool experience. And then at the clubs in the city, they had they had like these local, not local, but these up and coming, like here in Jersey there was a club, oh my God, I forget the name of it because everything kind of changes names and stuff like that. Yeah. And they had the Friday night group come through and freestyling, and the Cover Girls was at one.
Man, I could just imagine the shit you've seen, and you have no clue because they're underground at this time.
Yeah.
They're on their way up. You don't know that, if they're going to be big or not. You're just seeing an act. You're like, oh, that was pretty good. Yeah, wow. I could just imagine
it
all
was
that talent.
Rockers Revenge. Walkers on
Rockers Revenge was the name of the club or the band?
No, that's the name of the club, Rockers Revenge.
Rockers Revenge. Yeah. Damn, that place sounded like you got a lot of bar fights that come out of that. Like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Rockers Revenge, Walking on Sunshine, and it was it was an interesting kind of time, when it came to that, it was an interesting kind of time. Because a lot of these, I don't know. But that was the times of the little synthesizer,
Yeah. That's the first thing I noticed is it's all electronic.
Yeah.
So this is new ears. You're hearing this for the first time going, what is that little blip? And that's got to be mind blowing, man. Especially in a big club.
Right. And that's 1982. 1982. And
wow, 82.
Yeah.
82. Wow. God, I was not even 5. I was 5 years old. Barely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, to say the least. To say the least, man. But listen, let's we got to do this again.
Yeah, for sure. This was fun, man. I've been setting up the studio. I'll give you a little quick tour before we cut out here, but I've been setting up some lights. I got like a light panel there. I got one. Where's the other one at? There's one over there and one there. So I've been trying to get like the lighting right. I got the rack lit back there, so trying to go live more this year is the goal. Try to go live as much as possible, and I got a few people that are interested, and I've been coming up with an outline of like, this person, would be good for this, and this person would be good for that. So anytime I go live, would love to have you on there and get some of that insight for sure.
Yeah, dude. All you got to do is, let me know, that you might be going live tonight or whatever. And, you pick a topic and, I try to stay on top of a lot of different things. We could talk about furniture making. It don't matter to me.
I had an idea where I wanted to do like a versus thing. So I was talking, like with my boy, we were trying to come up with concepts, and I was like, what would be good is to compare two things. So, like let's say we go back, I don't know, to the 80s, Coke and Pepsi. You know what I mean? And literally just go off of that. Whatever comes of the conversation comes of it. But it's like, today we're talking about Coke and Pepsi. What do you prefer? What are other, and then, and just go off of that. I think that would be like, if you saw that in a live feed, it says Coke and Pepsi, Coke or Pepsi, ? You might click it. You come into the conversation. We're already 20 minutes into it talking about our favorite orange soda and how this soda, they found a rat in it. And that one had arsenic, Like that to me could kind of work on a quick, easy sort of, here's what we're doing. We're just comparing two things today. We're going to compare freestyle music to house music. You know what I mean? Go. And then everybody just kind of spew off on it. Yeah. I think that might work.
Platform.
Yeah, you're breaking up there. I think the algorithm is hating on us.
yeah, right now
they move you away from the equipment. It could be me. But you get my point. Like, I want to do something like that where I go live more often. I want to do like a one-day Instagram and then another day where I go live on Facebook, do something for YouTube, that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I'm still working it out, nothing solid in stone, but I definitely got people that want to come on. And I know if I do it on like Facebook, I can bring more people in. Like when we had Brenda earlier, we can bring her in. We can bring Brenda in. Boom, she's on the screen. She's talking about, I was there the day he had the car and he crashed into the tree. And, you get what I'm saying? Like, we could do that kind of stuff. That could be fun, too. Kind of like a radio show where we're bringing our callers in. And we're like, Brenda's in. Come on in, girl. What's up? Talk to me. Or my boy Dark, he's in the chat right now. We bring Jeff in, and have him talk, for 10 minutes about his favorite soda. You get what I'm saying? Like, that to me would be interesting. And then at the end of it, we get the live, we got the recording, we put it online, We got a historical record.
Let me know. I mean, there's times I'm kind of I'm busy. I'm working on a bunch of different projects and stuff like that. But listen, if I have a minute or something like that, and you tell me that you're going live and you're just going to throw your stuff out there, dude, I'll give you some time for sure.
That's what's up. I appreciate that.
Give you some time.
Definitely appreciate that. You always got good insight,
Well, listen, I'm starting to fade away over here, and that's not me, it's the phone.
That was a good chat. We got it in, man. That was like, we could break this down into like a month worth of content. You know how many TikTok 25-second videos this is, man?
Oh my God.
That's like 1,000 videos we just made.
Listen, and if I know ahead of time, what I'll do is I'll throw my ring light up or I got lighting.
Okay, you can see here. You can see here. This is without it. And with it.
So I'll definitely throw some lighting.
Yeah, I needed it bad. In this room, there's no windows, if you notice. There's not a single window.
Yeah.
It's a true studio. It's like a casino in here. So I had to bring the sun in, Yeah. It's annoying, but...
Well, listen, tell your sister and everybody that I said hello.
I will.
Me and your mom, we text probably at least once a week. She's keeping me updated about all the stuff and that she's got going on. I'm glad that your dad finally got a pair of shoes that he could use in Puerto Rico.
Wow. The struggle. They're going through the struggle out there. They got unlimited mangoes and all the best food in the world. Poor things.
Your mom sent me a video off your dad's phone of 2 iguanas, as she put it, raping another iguana. And I was like, oh my God, that's just bad.
Wow. Wow, it's tough out there. It's rough. Even the animals are taking each other out.
Crazy.
Funny, man.
Crazy.
And do the same, man. Give my love to Titi Dottie and everybody, you know what I mean? And we're going to have to get the kids in on the chat. Apparently they want in. We'll get them in on the next one,
It definitely will. Definitely will. Much love, man.
All right. It was good chatting with you. Until we meet again.
Yes. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Here I go like the old guy that don't know how to cancel the live, How do you turn this damn thing off? How do you kids do it?
Take care, man.
I'll catch you later.
All right, bye.
Wow, that was an hour 45. We up in here. Who's in the chat? I got anybody in here? I see one watcher. Anybody up in here with me? Where you at? Join in the chat, man. I got 15 minutes left in me. I'm about to blaze one. If y'all want to talk and chat, we can. We can fucking break it down. We can break it up, in, out, over, and under. It don't matter. Let's see here. What we got? Oh, nobody. Nobody want to talk. It's all good. I'm going to light the spliff. Somebody's going to join me real quick. We'll chat it up. You, me, you. We'll talk about everything and anything that comes to mind. Yeah. That was a good chat. That's the kind of shit I like, man. That was a great chat. Big shout out to my uncle. That was my Uncle Eddie on my mother's side of the family. Big shout out, man. That was a great chat. Lots of amazing insight, lots of good energy, and we learned something. Like, we really learned something there. You might not think you learned something, but if you go back and really listen, you learn something. There was a lot of gems dropped. Oh, yeah. Whole lot of gems dropped. We learned about DJing. We talked about pause tapes. Talked about new technology and how it's ruining music and making it better at the same time. We went over our favorite artists. We talked about the bucket list of people we want to see live in concert. That was fun. We had Sade. We talked about Blues Traveler. Wow, we went all over the place, man. On some real shit. We went all over the place. We traveled. Big shout out Brenda and the family, all the Francos chiming in. They all hopped in and got a little conversation with us. That was fucking dope. They dropped some gems on us, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, boy. Well, I don't know. Looks like the scene is dying. I guess everybody got to work tomorrow, so I'm going to take my spleef. I go take my spleef and I run this. I'm going to grab the last can of, what? Liquid encouragement. And I'm probably going to hit the sacky sack, man. I hope you guys are all doing well tonight. It's been a rough start to 2022. 2021 wasn't really that phenomenal, but 2022, it's kind of starting out a little, I don't know. I was expecting first class seats, and I got peanuts and ginger ale, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. I'm going to count my blessings as always. Be grateful for what I got. Grateful for where I'm going. I made some plans a couple years back in 2019. 2020, I started to execute those plans. 2021, those plans started to really come to fruition. I got a lot of the tree was fruiting. And in 2022, I'm gonna start picking fruit. 2023, we make a motherfucking fruit salad, bitch. All right. So I hope you guys are gonna be here for 2022 to help me pick some fruits, because in 2023, we all gonna eat. We all gonna sit down and eat. Mark my motherfucking words. All right, people. I'm out of here. Peace and blessings. One love. I'm going to play How Do You Kill the Live Stream Without Deleting It? Because I was fucking with it one night. And when I went to kill the stream, I killed it. Like, I lost it. And I wasn't able to keep it. So here we go. Peace.